today I'm going to practice with you to solve inequalities. We're going to do one on exponential and one on log. Technically, you know everything you need to know to be able to do that, but I'll just show you an example. So the first one we're going to look at is to solve 5 bracket 0.5 exponent 2x smaller than 2. So the first thing I suggest you do is that you sketch. That gives you an idea of what we're working on. Okay, so if you sketch, start by showing your axes. And then to sketch, you need to remember how to sketch the exponential function. So if you look at the base, because it's smaller than 1, you know it's going to go down like this. The asymptote is 0 because your k is 0, so you know you're going to draw your asymptote. And if you plug in x is equal to 0 in your rule, then you find out that your y is 5. So your initial value is 5. So you can go here at 5. You know your asymptote is at 0. You can go at 5, and then your line's gonna, or your curve is gonna go down like this. Step number 2. Step number 2, what we're gonna do is, also, sorry, we're not done. We want to find when our rule is smaller than 2. So we need to find out here. This is my 2. And so I want to know when it's smaller than 2. So not included and smaller than 2 is, this is what I'm looking for. So really what I need is I need this x here to figure out it's from here and to infinity. So in part 2, what we're going to do is we're going to make it equal to find out when our 0.5 exponent 2x is equal to 2. So to solve this, first, we want to isolate our exponential part here, so we're going to divide by 5 on both sides. So we have 0.5 exponent 2x is equal to 2 over 5. Now you have to remember when we're looking for an exponent that a log is an exponent. So if we're looking for our exponent here, we're going to have 2x is equal to log base 0.5 of 2 over 5. Now this is 2x. We're just looking for x. So we need to divide all of this by 2 to get just our x value. So now that we have our x value, if you want to check approximately, so you see on the graph if it makes sense, you can take your calculator and you would do log of 2/5 over log of 0.5, and this answer divide by 2. I suggest you try it to make sure that it makes sense on your calculator. And also when you did your sketch, I forgot to mention it, but you should plug it in your graphic calculator. So plug in this part on your graphic calculator and see if your sketch makes sense. So now it's going to be time to just look at the sketch, look at your answer, and look at the value of x and formulate your answer. So the part in red, if you're asked when is your rule smaller than 2, it would start at excluded log base 0.5 of 2/5 over 2. Sorry, so this is your x. So it starts from here and goes to plus infinity. So remember when you write down your answer in part 3, you always go from left to right. So you have to look at your red part. If you go from left to right on your red part, it starts at your x and go to plus infinity. So we're going to try to do the same thing now with the log function. So I suggest you take a second, try it on your own, and then we'll try it again after. So we're going to do this one the same way we did the previous one. So step 1 would be for you to sketch the graph of the log. So you have to remember what logs look like. So a log function is a curve that is either going up or going down. It depends on your base. So in this case here, we don't see the base. So when we don't see the base, you have to know it's 10. And the log function, as its asymptote vertically, it is at 0 because there's no h or k. And because it's greater than 1, the curve's going to go up. Oh, now what? You have to be careful with this. See, your a is negative. So if your a is negative, instead of going up, there's going to be a reflection on the x-axis. So it's going to go down like this. So step 1, you sketch. So you can start with your asymptote. Your asymptote is on the y-axis. Now you need to find some point to help you sketch. If you want, you can check what happened. You know that log of 1 is 0. So you can think about here, what would I need to make this equal to 1? So when x is equal to 1/3, your y will be equal to 0. Because if you do 1/3 times 3, you get 1. And log of 1 is 0. And 0 times -5 is 0. So you know at 1/3 it's going to be 0. And then it's going down like this. And you want to find when it's going to be greater than -1. So imagine your -1 is somewhere around here. When is it greater than -1? So it would be this part here we're looking for. So again, we're looking for this x. So step number 2, you're going to check when it's equal to x. So step number 2, check when your rule -5 log of 3x is equal to -1. So you're looking for the log here, so you need to get rid of your -5. If you divide by -5 on both sides, you get log of 3x is equal to 1/5. And when you're stuck in this form, you have to think about going in the other form. So you have 10, your base, your exponent is 1/5, is equal to 3x. So you're looking for x, so you need to divide by 3. It's going to look like this. Now 10 exponent 1/5, you have to remember that it's the same as 5th root of 10. So I think it's easier, or it's better to write it like this. You'll see it more often written like this. Now, if you want to check if your answer makes sense, you can take your calculator. If you plug this into your calculator, you should get around 0.5. Does it make sense that it's 0.5? Well, yes, because remember, here it was 1/3. So this is 0.5. It makes sense. There's one thing we forgot to do at the beginning. Remember 3x here? When we have a log function, that means that our 3x has to be greater than 0 because log has to be positive, log of something positive. So that means our x is greater than 0. And if you look at the graph, that's what we have. Our x is always greater than 0. So let's look at part 3. How would we write our answer? So if you look in red on your graph, and we're reading from left to right, when does the red start? It starts at 0, not included, because it's our asymptote. And it's going to stop at your x value, which is 5th root of 10. So 5th root of 10 over 3. And that is also excluded because it's just greater than, it's not equal to. So be careful just checking out the sign. If it would be equal to, then you would include it. So now you can have fun finding the solution of inequalities.